continual change or ongoing change. So, you know, we recognize that ultimately change is the only constant. So, you know, we're often taught that a lot of us are taught that, you know, make a decision, choose a career, this is how your life path is going to unfold. And it's very linear, you know? And in that regard, we're kind of taught a more limited way of perceiving because it doesn't allow for as much change. And in fact, that linear way of perceiving sort of binds us to this belief that change is bad or change is wrong. And we do, you know, with that imbalanced perception, we often we demonize people who change, you know, like when we're breaking free from that system or that systematic way of seeing, we see people living their lives and changing their career and changing their mind, and it's like, how can they change their mind, or how could they be like that? Because it triggers all of those control patterns in us. And anytime we're rigidly trying to control the external world, it really does mean that we're coming from a place of unworthiness, or we're masking a deeper truth of our own feelings of not enough. And so because those feelings are uncomfortable and they come from, you know, trauma and wounds that we don't want to have to face, we then, you know, project that pain onto someone else, onto someone who appears to be living large or living fun, and oh, it's okay for some, but I could never have that. So we often make excuses as to why we can't live in the flow. And this relates directly to even recent events in my own life where I set off on my expedition in transformation, obviously the intent very much being, you know, transformation, and also inspiring people to live free, right? And to live their own transformational journey. And I had, you know, I can't even tell you how many flight changes I had to make. But I was at my second destination. I was on my way to my third. I was on my way to Portugal, and all of it changed. So here I am in my mind thinking, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and I can like show this, and, you know, thinking I have to go bigger and I have to go larger and I have to keep chasing, and or I have to chase. At the same time, I have to run away, or this is too good to be true, so I'm not gonna stick this out. I'm gonna run away from it because my childhood trauma pattern would tell me that, you know, people don't really want you around. People are just gonna reject you and abandon you, so you might as well run away before they abandon you, right? So I didn't even realize that there was this unconscious program being acted out. But then this unexpected event dropped into my reality. And of course, it brought up a huge emotional reaction and upheaval, which I have to sit with, but then making a decision based on new information. So the decision based on new information was a redirection. And that's the beauty of broadening our perspective, is that we can often see like, okay, so I had to go down that path, but I was always going to redirect myself back so that I could learn another lesson, so that I could learn more about myself, about my unconscious patterning, and really that spiritual growth and that expansion. And it's amazing with these things because the rational mind or the logical mind, so I'll speak specifically about my own self and my own life path, but like achievement, going big, proving oneself, all those sort of energies, which ultimately to me really do stem from a place of unworthiness. And thinking I have to go bigger, and yet when that situation, unexpected situation arrives, it totally shifts our energy field. And so really it's about our ability to be flexible. and our ability to live in the moment and really work with our feelings rather than the mind. Because again, my old mind would have been like, you failed, or people are gonna think you failed, or people are gonna think you're a loser, whatever, right? You know, like all this like negative judgment stuff, and none of that matters. I'm aware of it. I'm aware that my mind could go down that way, but that's not the truth for me. And anyone judgy, it's like when they don't know the truth and they're just judging each other, that's not fun. Nobody wants to hang out with judgies. So flexibility, you know, when it comes to our big plans, and really, like, to me, living in the moment is living in the flow, means being extraordinarily flexible, making, and you know, it's not making rational decisions, because there's no, like, when you're really truly living from the heart, you're just guided. So it doesn't matter how much money you've spent, or it doesn't matter how much money you're gonna lose, or it doesn't matter how irrational or weird it might look, or how you think, oh no, but that wasn't the plan, I'm not meant to be doing it that way. You follow the flow in the moment and align with that, and everything else falls into place. So naturally we're guided to places at different times perhaps, but that's the idea of not staying rigidly controlling on the external, or thinking that my little human mind knows how I'm meant to get to where I want to go, because where I want to go is actually just a feeling inside. And the more we practice that feeling inside, the more these miraculous sort of series of events unfold for us in our life. I'm happier now than ever. I'm more grateful now than ever. And yet circumstantially, I'm kind of like in the same spot, you know. I'm single, and I am, you know, I have a home, I'm well looked after, I have a great gig. It's like, and I have loving people in my life, and I have, you know, single is really about giving the other person their independence, and at the same time I'm feeling into deeper commitment, which means eventually a deeper commitment with this person, and even being detached enough to say, and if it's not meant to be with this person, it's not meant to be with this person. But for the first time in my life, and this is just being straight up, I can really feel joy, like true joy in body and mind and spirit and life, and also sovereignty and independence, where my joy and happiness and freedom and sovereignty isn't reliant on somebody else. My security, my stability isn't reliant on somebody else. And even though I've like played the card of like the independent woman and the independent woman card was still unconsciously thinking she had to find a man to be secure, or she had to find a man to be adventurous, or to be safe in the world, or to be recognized in the world. That was another piece with another situation that got acted out, was that I thought that like having a man approve of me in that regard made me more important in the world, right? And that's really important, especially with all this hashtag Me Too, as far as like the insidiousness of aspects of our industrial life, which is really, really harmful and like a betrayal on our virtue and our humanity, right? So breaking free and rising above those programs, which we often don't realize we're in until some expected events sort of blow up in our face, and then we deal with all that emotional upheaval, and then we're like, oh my God, I can suddenly see that more clearly. And that's the beauty of doing this inner work, is that we access like these gifts and this intuitive wisdom that really does live in the body, and we can expose it and bring it to light, or bring it to the surface when we consciously sit with and transform our emotional density. Because it's in that emotional shift that we actually kind of line up with our new self, with that broader aspect of ourselves. So really, living in the flow is very flexible and non-linear and non-rational in that regard. And yet, from within self, the more you're connected to yourself, the more it makes sense, because you can feel the purpose, especially once you're like beyond some of the intensity of the emotion. But you can feel the purpose once you're kind of on the other side of the storm. There's greater clarity, or there might be insight that helps us understand our own reality a little bit better, or understand ourselves in our reality a little bit better. So there you have it. Living in the flow, being an abundant creator, being a joyful expression of the divine is a flexible and fluid way of being, because you know in truth, change is the only constant. And living in that continual flux of change, paradoxically, is actually the most stable and secure way to be, because you know you're in divine trust. You know that you're always being shown and always being provided for. And that's the thing of like, sometimes we have to act out these unconscious patterns to actually plant our feet in that state of being, right? Which to me, the last phase really showed me that I can move in the flow and be directed, and then it might go against all the kind of, you know, it might, again, we might lose money. We wouldn't in a rational sense want to do things that we lose money on. And yet when we're living in the flow, none of those sort of externals come into it when we're in the guidance and when we're in alignment. So there you have it. Living in the flow. I hope that was useful to you guys. I hope that you're having a beautiful, fluid, and loving day, and I look forward to speaking to y'all soon. Peace out. Take care. Bye-bye.